Welcome, everybody, and welcome to the Wizard session for November 18th. Today, we're going to be talking about document generation. We're going to be, of course, very possibly making some forward-looking statements. At least we encourage all the Workday folks on the call to make forward-looking statements. But, of course, please don't make any purchasing decisions based on those forward-looking statements. The Extend plugin for IntelliJ is 3.75.3, and if you're still using the Extend plugin, I hope you're doing source control, and if you're not, check out the new features on the autofill and the keyboard helpers for App Builder. They really are really nice. There's no reason to be using IntelliJ anymore unless you're doing source control with it. Let me throw this over to Devrel for a moment. Tony. Hi, Tony.
Hey, Clint. Yeah, so we got all kinds of fun stuff in the works here. I have actually just recently started a YouTube live stream in the mornings, about usually about a half an hour worth of me just kind of fiddling around with different stuff. This week we started playing around with some coding agents. Last week we built a pretty fun little stock home card app, and then we're just gonna kind of go from there, building all kinds of fun stuff, playing with all the new things, giving you a little bit of news here and there. I will drop the channel in chat right now. It is currently my personal channel, but that may or may not change in the future. We will see. Stay tuned on that one. But for the time being, foreseeable future, it will be continued to be on the channel I just dropped in chat. I'm also dropping weekly videos, focusing on little 5-minute demos, just trying to get as much information out into the wild as possible. Because if you guys have not heard, the developer program is opening up to the broader community. So that is pretty exciting stuff, and we're going to be trying to get more and more stuff out into the open. Again, more to come with that. Stay tuned. And if you guys have not signed up for the Rising digital access, you can still sign up for that. That actually starts tomorrow through the 20th for the keynotes and the broadcast. So definitely check that out. It is free to sign up. Thanks, Clint. I'll pass back to you.
Awesome. I caught your show Monday morning, actually. Very cool stuff.
Thank you.
C robots. I remember C robots back when we wrote it in C. And question there for you, Tony. What do you mean the developer community is more open and broader? Are you talking like adding in integrations, or are you talking non-Workday customers? What are you saying there?
So basically, the developer community, we want to open it up to folks that are not necessarily tied to a Workday partner or Workday customer. So we want it to be more of a fully fledged open developer program. So anyone and everyone can come and sign in and get access to the developer site and all that good stuff. But we need to work our way there from the back to the forward because currently our infrastructure within Workday is still closed. You still have to have, community login, be able to sign in with SSO and all that good stuff. So there's a lot of stuff in the works to get it to that point, but we are working our way toward that goal. Again, more
Awesome.
news to come in that regard.
Very cool. That's, I think, going to be a very interesting world. Looking forward to it. So let's see here. There is a couple of new features I want to mention. There's an app builder duplicate component. So this allows you to duplicate components exactly like it sounds. It's a fancy form of copy paste, but it does work really well. So this can be really handy if you got like 10 pages and you need to make 10 pages that are very similar to them and you're just doing that copy paste. It's a pretty cool way to do it. However, there is a very cool thing that I want to talk about, and that's the Orchestrate 48-hour runtime. Let me just jump over to that page. This is live now, so no forward-looking statements here. This 48-hour runtime on orchestration for integrations is very cool. What it means is, well, exactly what it sounds like. Your orchestrations can now run for a really long time, but there's a catch. There's a big catch. It's not like you can just, write an orchestration that's got a giant loop in it and just have it sit there chugging away for 48 hours. That's not how this works. You're going to need to do some serious thinking about this. And I'm expecting Merrick in the O4I or the Orchestrate KSS is going to probably do an example of this. If he doesn't, we'll do an actual sample here. But I want to talk through the nuances of it just for a minute. Because even though Orchestrate now has this 48-hour maximum runtime, and like I say, that is live, has been live for almost a month now, it's not like you just have 48 straight hours. Each section, each individual process has to complete in 20 minutes, with a couple of exceptions. But the amount of time, like you're sitting inside of an orchestration, looping through stuff, that sort of thing is all going to be there for you, but you can only be there for you for 20 minutes or so. And then you need to start a new process. So what's going to happen is your 48 hours is going to be chunked up into 20-minute pieces. Well, how do I start a new piece is probably the obvious next question. Well, there's right now 3 components that will allow you to start a new process. The first one, and the one most of us are likely going to be using, is send Workday RAS request. So you're going to use the send Workday RAS request. Now you'll notice that send Workday RAS request doesn't work within a loop. So you're going to have to think about this from an orchestration architecture standpoint. How am I putting this together so that my orchestration is going to be able to run some processing and then send a RAS request, and then run some processing and then send a RAS request without putting that RAS request in a loop? It's going to be tricky. There's another key point on send Workday RAS request, and that's that it's not going to work for fast returning RAS reports. So if you run your report as a service and it comes back in like 15, 20 seconds, that is not going to start a new process. It has to actually run long enough that it gets out of the synchronous call template and actually shuts down the orchestration and fires up the RAS to wait for it to complete. So it's kind of like that same time frame when you run a report in the tenant. So you run a report in the tenant. If it runs in 20 or 30 seconds, it just pops up. And if it's going to take a long time, you get the little notify me button. You have to notify and you get an Excel spreadsheet later. That's what this is. And you have to be triggering that second process in order for it to actually start a new process in your orchestration. In my testing, that took about a minute. If the report ran longer than about a minute or so, it started a separate process. So understand that sending a Workday RAS request may not always meet that need. So give some serious thought to it. Now you can also send an HTTP request with HTTP polling, but again, it has to hit the polling process before it starts a new process. If you don't hit the polling, if you send an HTTP request and just get an answer back, that's not starting a new process. It's just going to keep right on going. And we wouldn't want it to. We don't want it to be stopping and starting these orchestrations all the time if we're getting our answers back quickly. Last but not least is triggering a BP. You can trigger a BP. That's going to shut everything down like it pretty much always did and wait for the BP to complete. There is a key point here on this one, though. For those of us who remember the old async Stripe example on that you could leave that BP open for weeks. It's now 48 hours. So give some serious thought to how you're going to handle this when you're dealing with weekends, because nobody actually on a Friday afternoon goes and catches up on all the processes that are sitting in their inbox, right? I certainly don't do that, and nobody I know does that. Oh, maybe we totally all do. And 48 hours is going to definitely cause you some chaos because, well, if you started at 4 o'clock on a Friday afternoon, it's going to time out at 4 o'clock on Sunday. So be a little bit careful with that as well. Any questions on this? There's some really neat stuff here, but you're going to have to really do some serious thinking about how you're going to build your orchestration in order to take advantage of this new 48-hour time period. Some questions coming in there. So the 48-hour timer starts when you hit send on the Workday RAS request. The 48-hour timer starts when you start your orchestrations, 48 hours from when that first process starts. And then you're going to run for 20 minutes in the first process. If you haven't started a new process by the end of that 20 minutes, your orchestration completes in that 20 minutes and you time out. If you have started a new process, send a Workday a long running RAS report inside of that first 20 minutes. Your RAS report can take up to an hour. And then when it transfers control back to your orchestration, you have another 20 minutes to complete processing. So the 48 hours timer starts when your first process starts, and you're going to have to bounce processes back and forth throughout that whole time as long as you need in order to get your processing done. But you will have to be careful to hand processes off at least every 20 minutes. Let's see here. Venu, can you trigger an orchestration when a new value is added to an extend object? There's no hook for adding an extend object. If you're in an extend application, then absolutely, you're just going to launch something. But if you're loading a value into the model object, there's no hook on that model object. You'll have to actually trigger something to go with it. Now, can you do that? Yeah, sure. You build an orchestration that goes around it that does both the trigger and the update. So can you build something like that? Yes. Does it happen automatically? No. So to answer your question, but is it feasible if I load an EIB loading data to an extend object, which triggers the orchestration automatically? No, but you can actually use an orchestration to load everything like that. And Arnav, yeah, the long-running data retrieval is no longer a blocking for O4I and hasn't been for a while. The long-running, the get RAS request will give you a full hour and then do all your data processing once it completes. Further, for O4I, you can just do a disk call initially. It doesn't actually count against your orchestration time at all. So if you're doing lots of data retrieval, like you need a couple hours of data retrieval using disk, just do a disk call immediately and then do your processing with O4I. And Ed, unfortunately, I have no idea what their plans are, and I would love to be at Rising EMEA right now because I would totally corner Joe and see what their plans are. But so if any of you are actually in near Rising EMEA right now, go corner Joe and answer that question because I want to know if there's a way that we can just hand those processes off directly rather than having to use this kind of proxy method to do it. I would love to know that too, Ed. Unus, is there any demo or tutorial? The feature runtime post that I was referencing is right here. Let me throw that out. However, that's as much as we've got right now, though there has only been a single. Oh, get back to that. There's only been a single orchestrate KSS since then, and I'll be interested to see if they do something with this for the orchestrate KSS, which is, I believe, next Tuesday. I'll certainly be crossing my fingers and pushing for it because I think would be a very good way for them to start getting some source code out for this. Well, let's call it there. Chris, why don't you take it away?
All righty. Let me share my screen. Okay, 1 second, moving things around because everything likes to move when you start sharing. Okay, so I'm talking today about document generation. So generate documents in a BP, review documents in a BP, all kind of in the context of an extend model business process. This feature for model BPs came available not too long ago. Um, and I've seen a fair number of conversations, threads pop up on the forums about it, and we thought it was a good time to dig into it and talk about a little bit of the nuance. So, we're going to talk about the options. What kind of things, what kind of documents can we generate in the BP? Um, what BP actions are available, generate, review, and how they fit together. And then where's the document after you review it? Well, that's a there's a little bit of a gotcha there, and we'll talk about that too. All right, so what are the options? When we want to generate a document, we can use the create document task to create a very simple document, and we'll look at that in the tenant. There's not a lot of formatting options, um, not a lot of not a lot of options at all, frankly, in terms of the data and how you can lay it out. Doc templates. These are a bigger power tool that we were given, and they have a lot more flexibility in terms of how we can make the documents look. You can make the documents look incredible compared to what you can make in a Create document. And finally, tried and true, we have BERT. Okay. BERT is our Swiss Army knife. You can do backgrounds and you can overlay on that, which is something you can't do with the doc template or the create documents. Um, but it's got a little bit of a learning curve, a lot more complexity. So it's the trade-off with the power that you get. I'm not going to be going into BERT today. There's plenty of resources around BERT and how to do it on community. But it's worth a call out here that we can do the doc generation steps with a BERT layout. All right. Go switch over here. 1 second. Find the right window. Of course. Yes. Reconnect. Okay, so I have a simple extend app for comparison purposes today, demonstration purposes, comparing between the different documents. So we have a character object, and we're creating these characters for our employees, D&D characters, whatever role-playing system you use. So pretty simple, right? And this is not a great like view here. But we're going to create some documents that look a lot better. Yes, zooming in for sure. I'm going to switch to the tenant in a second. So this is just showing us like the data that is on my model object. And we're going to take this data and we're going to throw it in to a document. All right. So create sheet is going to trigger my business process. And we'll look at the business process later. Vamshi, I do have I can make the app available. However, most of the things you're going to want are going to be the calc fields and the layouts that I can't package with the application. I have, as you'll see in the PowerPoint, though, I have the calc fields that'll be used later, kind of detailed. And I will post the application out on GitHub. Okay, so we've got this data in our model object. I kicked off our business process. Okay, so we'll jump into the tenant. Now the business process, let's duplicate this and let's look at the BP. All right, so create character sheet, our BP, got a bunch of steps in here. So we're trying to just like demo all of it, right, across the board. So I have a generate document step, and it is going to show me the create document doc that we created. And you'll get to see how the generate document step works. Okay. And then we have 3 different review documents in here. Okay. And they're covering each of the document types we can do. So first is create document. Second one is a doc template. And the last one is a BERT that we have. And so for the first one, since I kicked this off, I have this generate. It's going to go to Logan. And so when you do a generate document, you actually send the doc in the inbox to someone. In this case, it goes to the HR admin, and they can see the document right there in their inbox, and they can modify it. Okay, so this is our create document the template that I created. It's very simple, as you can see, and the options we have here are not many, right? But I can't change the font. Can't really change the alignments either. So you see these are lined up here, but in the resulting document, they will not be. So it's not gonna respect that. And also if you know, because I can go here and I can make modifications. Oh, I have to do the underscore. Oops. I can make modifications to the source document here, and it's not going to respect this. It's going to trim this out. So in the resulting document, it's going to end up back over here. Now, that's the generate document step does. You don't have to have a generate document step to create these documents, okay? Now, I'm going to jump back, and we're going to look at the task for create document. This is our simple one again. This is the one that's like the easiest. That's right, disrespecting our white space. This is the easiest one to do. So give it a simple name, and then a category. So you want to categorize your document based on the area that it most applies to. Unfortunately, I don't have a gaming category here, so we're just going to do other. You see there's 3 types that we can create when we do the create document step. Okay, there's attachment, link, and template. So if I create an attachment, it actually is just going to ask me to attach a file. I'm not going to get the opportunity to create that layout that I want to show with my data. You're just going to attach a file. If you create a link type, it's going to allow you to link out to an external document. Okay, again, it's not giving me the opportunity to customize this thing. But maybe that's not what you want to do for this step, right? Maybe you want to just bring in a document or have an attachment. Those are valid for this. And those would be cases where you would want to use this. It's very simple. Okay, we want to do a template. Now it's going to prompt me for a source. What is this source? This is our data source that we can use for the document, for what data we can pull in. Now, these sources are all going to be business process event sources. And the reason is because the create documents are intended to be used in a business process on a review step or on a generate document step. So the sources that we have available as you look at this are these events. They're all business process events, right? So I want to do the create character sheet, which is mine from my extend application. So this is our page we're going to be taken to. We're not taken to an edit page. We're taken to a page where we're going to assign our text blocks. And so when you create these documents, you're creating text blocks, okay? I go here and I can create a new one, or I can access any that have already been created. And I have the stat block that I created that I just showed you in the generate step. I can also put a rule in. It's a condition rule, because maybe I don't want to generate the document with this specific stat block. Maybe I've got conditions for this document that are going to look different for different groups, or you could apply different static language, etc. I've seen these document rules used with location, so different text based on different locations, jurisdictions, that sort of thing. Could be anything. In this case, we don't need to use a rule. And that means that this text block is going to appear in the document. And you can have more than one. You could have a series of them, right? So you could break it out. Now, we can also look here on the related actions. It will actually show us the content of this text block, which is kind of cool, right? And you can see these with the underscore and the gray background. Those are coming from fields off of my object that are associated to that business process event, which is my character object. Okay. So that's what's going to show up if I use this. All right. Now, I'm going to go ahead and bring up the one I already created so you guys can see. Let me just search because maybe, oh yeah, step quick reference. All right, so this is the main, and then we want to go, want to be able to edit it. There we go. All right, so it's mostly the same we saw in the generate document as far as what we can edit here, right? Again, not a lot we can do here. I tried lining it up. It's not going to respect that. There's not even many tricks we can use to force it. But so I guess the takeaway here is just keep it simple. And if you need to keep it really simple, then this is a good one to go because it's just easy to set up. Um, in order to get these object data links, we can go here and we can insert a tag, and it's going to show us all the fields that are available. Now, the fields that are available are going to be tied again to the event, which is going to have a lot more than just your model object, right? There's a bunch of other stuff that might be available as well. But in our case, we have the character object, and then I've got some calc fields that I created for later on. But we can also directly access any of the fields that are on that object as well. All right, so that's our create document. Next up are the templates, and these are a lot more interesting. So I'm logged in as Logan. I'm gonna go down to Drive, and this is where these templates live. The left side panel, we have a templates link, and it's going to filter and show us all the templates that are available. Okay. Now, if I want to create a new one, which is the first thing I want to do before we look at the one I already created, I'm going to create a document template, give it a name. And just like the other document, with our create document, we're going to have to select a source for the data that's available. And again, tied to BP events, right? That's far enough. Repeat until PTO. All right. So I'm going to say I want my source to be my create character sheet. And then again, category, it's just like the other one. Do other, create. And this is where we can create the documents. And we have a lot more options here, right? Font sizes, text coloring. We get color. We've gone from black and white to color. Alignments. We had one of these basic bulleted lists, but now we have numbered lists, and we can affect spacing. We can insert images, which we can do in the other one. One thing I will say is you cannot overlay on top of images. So if you want to have, say, a fancy background that you put text over, you can do that with these doc templates. So that's a case where you're going to want to go to BERT. Multiple pages, no problem. Now, when we want to insert that data and the other document type, we use the tag and go over here, manage data fields and insert. And I can find the field I want. Connection loss, that's a good one. Right on time for my demo. I don't think I've ever seen that happen before either, like connection lost. That's interesting. All right. So it's going to give us all the matches for my search. All I gotta do is hit plus here, and you're going to notice it's got that background to show that it's referencing data. It's a data.
Alrighty then. I'm going to blame Cloudflare on this one. I think we lost his connection. Yep.
That's my go-to today.
Oh, I see you coming back in. We're blaming Cloudflare, Chris. You're coming in muted.
Yep, that was that was something else. All right, where'd you lose me?
Uh, you had
Player
you had
tag.
the connection lost. You were just coming back into the editor, and away you
Okay,
went.
cool. This is yep. I think Clinton and I kind of knew today with the Cloudflare issues. The solar flares. That's what I'm gonna blame. All right, so we got to insert our data field, right? We did a search. I'm gonna search for player because I know I've got a field on my object called player,
Oh,
and I click
share.
plus. Am I not sharing?
You're not
Okay.
sharing at the moment. No.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
I was using the power of imagination, but
Well, hopefully y'all were. The second time I showed it. Third time's the charm. Okay, so let's try one more time. Go over here to manage data fields on the right hand side. You see this got the data tag symbol. Go in the insert, and I'm going to search for player, which is a field that's on my object that I know about. It's going to give me all matches. This is the one I want here. If I go here, I can actually view the details for the field just to make sure it's the right one. Apparently it's not going to show me today, apart from the course. So when I click the plus, it's going to insert it for me. And just like in the other document type, it has a colored background, and basically it's showing you this is a data tag, right? So at runtime, when the docs are generated, it's going to replace that data with the correct data. Okay. Put a static data in there, put all the tags you need. You can delete them when you need to, no problem. All right. Now I'm going to jump out of this one and show you one that I created that's full, and then we'll see it when it's uh, generated as well. But this is one I created for the session, and as you can see, it has a lot more to it than what I could have done in the other layout. Okay. And one thing you need to know that's kind of the pro tip here for these is if you want a layout that looks like this, where you have things partitioned throughout the page, one of the tricks you can do, and I think the BERT developers probably are familiar with this kind of trick, and for me, having done HTML back in like the 90s, this is the way we would do it, is tables in tables. So you have a full big table over the page, and it has multiple columns. And then you create tables within those columns, and that will give you this kind of placement, right? It allows you to make what I think is a pretty cool layout, right? You can do a lot more with this than you could with that other one, right? With the basic create document. Okay. The other thing that's really cool is you can do header images and footer images. Okay. So if we go up to layout, the top here, we've got headers and footers. I've got over here on the left-hand side, we've got the header and the footer selection. So we can add multiple headers, multiple footers, and you can do condition rules on which one is shown. Okay. I've just dropped an image in here. Nope. You can do text along with it. So you can do a lot of other stuff. It doesn't have to just be an image. And this is something that you can have show on every single page if you've got a multi-page document. One thing though that I ran into is because I was using this image header, because of the size, it was dropping it like way down from the top. So if we go to page settings off a file, you can actually mess with the margins, and it limits like how far you can go up or down. But if you move the top margin all the way to the top, that'll ensure, if you've got an image like mine, that it's going to show up high on the page. And you do the same with the footer. So you can see right now with this, hopefully you can see with this red dot, it's showing me where everything's going to render. And so you can actually move this down by adjusting these margins, right? Can we have dynamic auto page number like BI Publisher BERT? I don't think so in this one. Unless, oh, you just mean just showing the number on the on each page. Um, yeah, actually don't know. It's something I'd have to check. No, footer settings, let's check. Well, that would not be where I want. Header and footer. Let's see if I had added a footer, I probably would have been able to tell you. Page number, there you go. Current total. Yeah. All right. So if you make changes in this, so I guess one of the other things to know about these documents is before they're available to use, you have to publish them. Okay. So up in the right-hand corner, you're going to get a publish option. So anytime you make any changes to the document, it's also going to show you that it is unpublished, and you can publish it. So we see here it's got unpublished changes. If we publish it, it will make that version available. Okay. Otherwise, it's using the prior version. All right. So let's look at what these documents actually look like when we generate them. So we've got this step here. I'm just going to show you. So this is the layout that we had in the create document. I added Logan extra text here. So you can see, I'm going to go ahead and submit it. And then I'm going to have to proxy over Adam Carlton. So the preview, and good question, Arnold. I can jump back and show you that. It doesn't show you any data. It just shows you those placeholders in the spot where those would be. And I'll jump back and show you that after we look at these documents. So Adam Carlton has this first review document step, which is the first one from our business process that happens right after the generate step. Okay. This is the sheet though. This is the full sheet that we're creating that we just looked at in that create document step. So now we can see the header, see everything rendered, and you see we have our data here that came straight from the objects, right? Again, this is like, obviously this is me, right? Super nerdy. But I was really excited that I could make something that actually looks this clean, right? In a tool that's not as complicated as BERT, right? All right. So I'm going to go ahead and submit this because this is a review document step, right? So the worker's going to get this document as an action step. Going to go ahead and say submit. And this one's from yesterday, which is we'll just ignore that one. We want the next step here. Okay. This is the quick stat reference. So this is the one that went through the generated. So if we look at this, we can see it's got the Logan extra text here as she went through and had that generated. So that's really what the generated step allows you to do, right? It allows you to take that document and make adjustments to it before it gets sent on to review. But you don't have to have the generate step. You can just do a review document step by itself. That's all you need to generate the documents. All right, so here's this document. Go and submit this. And jump back over here. Probably gonna want me to stop proxying first. Try that again. All right, let me jump back to that template. Go and preview. A note up here, it also says which language it's in. With the templates, you can do multiple languages. Okay. So you can see here, it's just got those placeholders with what the object field is that it's utilizing. But everything else is as expected. All right. So let me jump back here. So BP actions in our core flow. Generate document allows us to build it and make updates to it. Review document, the user gets to look at it. You can set it to require a signature. They can download it directly from that action step. Again, does not require that generate document step. But there's a gotcha. Where'd my document go after my step is completed? It's not on my worker docs. We see this one come up on the forums, right? The reason it's not there is this is actually a limitation that's not just a model object not model business process limitation. This is actually a limitation with any Workday delivered business processes that don't have a worker associated to them. If they don't have a worker associated to the actual directly to the event, they won't store review documents on the worker docs. This is a rabbit hole I went down at Workday with one of the developers who worked on the BP's side, and we sussed that out. So, but what we could do is we can actually use an orchestration to attach straight from the business process. We need some calc fields to do it. Okay. Now, the way I used to do this was through a custom report off of the action events, which is perfectly viable. But set of 5 calc fields makes it much easier. And I'll show you the orchestration too. The orchestration is super simple. So I've got these 5 calc fields that we need. Let's make this a little bigger so we can see it. Let's see. All right. Now, hopefully that's nice and visible to everybody. So when you do extract the review documents instance, so basically we're going to get the most recent, since there could be multiple. We're going to pull the review documents events, it's multi-instance from the events, the review document objects. And then from there, we're going to get a single review document, which is going to be the most recent one, right? There may be more than one. So this may be different for you. In my case, I only had one document. Again, what I'm saying here is review document steps. A single review document step can generate multiple documents, but you can only generate one template document. So you may end up with multiples. It's probably unlikely, but I can show you that in the business process as well. So for this case, we're only expecting one, so we're extracting one, okay? From there, from the document, we actually have to get the generated documents and reports instance, right? Because the document's like an abstract. Now from there, we have our document. We need the document ID. The document ID is how we tell the blobtory, hey, this is the location and the ID of the file that we want, okay? So 5 calc fields. They're in this deck. Hopefully it's nice and easy to set them up based on that. And the slide presentation is available from our post. I'm going to jump back here. Now, I'm going to proxy back as Adam because the orchestration ran and what so to his profile, personal documents. You see, I've done a few of them. Now, I have it named as a parameter off the orchestration. So you can see they'll just show up here when we add them ourselves. Stopping proxy one more time. We'll go back and look at the BP. I can show you the orchestration as well. All right, so service, orchestration. I'm running it as an ISU. And I'm giving it some parameters, okay? I've got the document ID parameter, which is from that calc field, the series of calc fields that I showed you. I'm getting the worker's WID because we need to know what worker that we're attaching the document for. And so I've got that player object on the character, or that's the field. It's a single instance, right? So I know who it is. The name of the character that I'm using naming to name the file, and then a text for the doc type. This goes in the file name. You can set this up however is useful for you, whatever data you need, but at minimum, the document ID and the worker WID are what you're going to want, right? All right, now you jump back here and take a look at that orchestration because I said it was simple, and I'm going to show you. It's very basic. Hopefully this is the easiest orchestration you've seen. So I got those fields that we just looked at, right? I need to pull the document down from the blobatory. And in order to do that, we go against the My Reports endpoint, and I hand it the document ID that we got from that calc field. This is going to get the document into the orchestration that was generated on that review step. I need to base64 encode the document before I attach it to the worker docs. I'm going to create a text template that is my put worker document SOAP request. And you see I'm referencing the various fields that I need. Content type, PDF. It's important. Make sure if that's the document type, which it would be based on what we generated. And finally, it's going to call that API. It's off of staffing, and that's the put worker documents. And this is going to attach the document to the worker. So you can go and see it just like we just did there. All right, and I will upload this app so that people have access to the orchestration. So hopefully between the orchestration and the presentation with the calc fields listed, you can rebuild it fairly easily, and that will allow you to get those documents on the worker docs. Let me see. I think that's everything I had. Yeah, that's everything I had in the slide deck. Okay. Well, yeah, the calc field screenshots are in the PowerPoint, which is on GitHub, and it's linked off of the forum post. There's also a PDF version as well. which Clint and I try to do a PDF and a PowerPoint version of all our presentations. So hopefully that's useful for folks. That's all I had. Um, hopefully that's useful. Like I said, we've seen the topic come up quite a bit on the forums, especially around that worker attachment piece. And I think also big props to my colleague Angie, who helped out on both the presentation prep and did all the legwork on the calc fields for one of our apps recently. So I just stole what she had already done. So thank you, Angie. Auth for my reports API. Um, let's see, who am I using for? It's the only one I have on that one. There we go. View and modify document generation results. Great question because I totally forgot about that. So I did it. I ran the process as the ISU, and this is the security that I gave the ISU. It's in a user-based security group because you have to have your ISU in a user-based security group for business process assignment for initiation. So it's got the initiate step permission and then view all off of the event. But then it has to have view and modify off the document generation results in order to get the document down from the laboratory. And good call out, Clint, that I forgot to mention is the My Reports API will only work from O4i and BP triggered. It does not work from synchronous and asynchronous orchestration templates. That's a really important point.
I've been burned by that one a few times where I tried to test things with sync. Like, oh yeah, I'll just do it in a sync just so I can see the results, saying, yeah, it doesn't work from there.
Yeah. Afton, the process, the orchestration is actually being kicked off as this ISU. So it's the whole thing is run under the context of the ISU. And so you could just use defaults for the API calls. It's everything's run as a user, yeah. Yeah, Vamshi, I'll update so that the extra stuff here that I forgot about is provided as well. Could this be used for bulk doc generation? Um, yeah, I've done multiple docs in a process too for one of my projects where I did this. Um, and you've got the 20-minute runtime. So, whatever you can do within that, constraint. Um, but you should be able to do like iterate through. Does this work if pass a worker field from the ABO, like generate as a worker and have it auto delivered to there? Yeah, so the way I did it was I passed in, since it runs as the ISU, I just passed in the width of the worker where I wanted the document attached. So technically you could attach it to any worker's profile as the ISU, if that's what you're meaning, Barnov. Thanks, Jules. Appreciate it. Out of topic, is it possible to attach a static PDF and PMD page and available for all employees? Yeah, you could link to a file and just have it like static on a page. It's actually fairly common to do. So, Vin, a good question. One of the cases that we had around um, where we would want to use BERT, I kind of mentioned earlier, is sometimes you want an overlay. So one of the examples is we recently did an application where we needed a government document and we wanted it to look exactly like that document. So we basically took this is a screenshot of the PDF and put that as the background and then just lined up the fields in all the spots where you would fill out the data. Um, and that's something that you can do in BERT. You cannot do in the other document types. And I think that's probably the like one of the biggest cases would be that where you wanted to do something like that. Is there a way to monitor these orchestration runs automatically the way we monitor the integrations? No, not for BP triggered. You'd have to kind of you'd probably have to build something yourself. I mean, technically you can look at like orchestrations from the dashboard, like on DevSite. You can see from there. So that's one view. But if you're thinking like, programmatic monitoring of a BP triggered, I don't think there's any way you'd be able to do that in the same way as integration. Clint, can you think of anything there?
Can't you use the new APIs off of
They're not
the
available. The insights stuff, I don't
yeah,
think it
the
went
inside
live yet.
stuff
Yeah. The D the
when
last
those become
DPC they said
available?
it's coming.
Yeah.
Not through external link. Is there a way to attach? Are you talking about like embedding the file? Is that kind of what you're meaning? You probably have to use like an attachment object, um, or maybe an integration attachment. I don't know if you could reference that.
File uploader attachment you could reference, but again, if you're trying to build a frame inside of an extend page, then the answer is no.
Yeah, that's for sure. All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us. Oh, Venu, the BERT, I didn't show it, but it was in the BP um as a review document step. So you can do the same as the other documents where you can reference the BERT. Um, I can show you real quick where I've got it set up. Let's see. All right, so this is the BERT step down here. So I've got this document here, and it's got this custom report. And this is the custom report that's used for the BERT. Think so when we do the review document step, we've got some other stuff that we get to configure here when we use a BERT. We can pass it the Workday ID that we want, that the report needs. The output, we're going to tell it we're using a business form, and this is going to be the BERT layout, right? The user you want to run as, and then since it's running a report, just like with any other report, you can like schedule and share. you can actually have it share with specific folks here or groups, and that will actually make for the burp piece. It'll just show up in their notifications. So technically, they don't have to have it attached to the worker docs there for those folks. I think it gets in their worker docs. Yes, that's correct. This is just going on a business process. So you could reuse anything just that you've created exactly as you're saying. Yeah, it would look the same. This is all using the business process framework, right? Share report output. I'm not sure what the output type. Oh, it's going to be PDF because that's what the BERT's generating. And I think I have one here actually. Let me look because I think it was shared. Oh yeah, so you can see here in my notifications, this is what they get when it's shared.
And thanks, Angie. That's a good call out that if you're actually invoking the BERT as a part of the orchestration rather than as part of the BP, there are some limitations on it. Not many, but unfortunately, putting that image in the background was one of them.
Yeah, no worries. All right, Clint, I'm gonna shut us down. Thanks everybody
Sounds good.
again for joining us. We'll see you next month.